Hey, what's up, you guys? Today I want to do a movie review given that this one had impact on me and it's been a while since I attempted a movie review. So tonight's date was to go see Annabelle. I saw the first one when it came out in 2014. Was it 2014? I feel like it was 2014. I remember not being a fan of it. Of course, I'm going to warn you that there is no way that I can make these kinds of reviews without spoiling anything, so that is your official spoiler warning. I am going to talk about specific details in this movie. If spoilers bother you, you want to stay away from them, click away now or you've been warned. The way I know a movie was good or not is by how good my retention is when it comes to it, but I have almost zero memory of the first Annabelle. The part that I remember is like when they go to like a basement. I think that's where their laundry was at. Then this entity thing was presenting itself, and yeah, that part was freaky. Anyway, so some highlights of this movie was I thought the cast was great. Those kids did a fantastic job. It's strange because this is the kind of movie that as you're watching it, you're anticipating bad stuff to happen because you know it's a horror movie, but the fact that it was kind of unpredictable is what kept me on edge, because at some point during the movie I was asking myself, okay, when is it going to end? Because it is really starting to get to me, like the tension, the build up, it's there. The jump scares, honestly, they didn't get me, unlike The Conjuring 2, but this one, it wasn't. And this kind of movie, I'm so glad that nowhere did it say that this is based on a true story, because if it was based on a true story, I don't know how I would handle this. Something that I liked was how this was shot. I didn't feel confused during the movie. I could follow everything. At the same time, the setting itself was freaky, because you would think that, oh, this takes place in a house, so therefore you're safe, but we all know from past scary movie experiences that that's not the case. Nothing frightened me more than when it would be nighttime during the movie, because you know that that's when the freaky stuff is really going to go down. Well, it wasn't limited to just nighttime. This entity, at some points when they would show it, it's like it had this bluish hue and paleness to its hands that, oh my goodness. Like there's a scene where the crippled girl is being pushed from her wheelchair in the middle of the day, and she turns around to see what it is, and she notices the, you know, pale blue hands first, and then when she tries to get a look at the face, they just show the shadow of it. It had like a nun form to it, the sun in the background, and I'm like, what? This movie was particularly terrifying in the sense that children are involved, and at least for me, I hate seeing children being hurt. That just kept me worried. But at the same time, there was this one kid that, like my boyfriend was saying, she was admirable because she had guts. One of the most frustrating things about this movie was I just could not wrap my head around the fact that weird stuff is happening, clearly people are getting hurt, and nobody is doing anything about it. People are still living in this house, they're still staying there, they're not calling the authorities, they're not doing anything. And not only that, during scenes when you know that danger is imminent and you know clearly you're being followed or chased, or you just hear things, you don't run. Why don't you run? There was a scene when the little girl, who's really brave, was trying to get rid of this doll. The adult present, her name is Sister Charlotte. The girl was taking the doll to this well and trying to dump it in there, and she did end up dumping it in there, but that entity was coming up, and I'm like, why didn't you put the lid on it immediately, little girl? Why are you peeking at it? Don't be curious about this. You already understand that this thing is possessed and has a physical form and shape, and it's out there to get you. Just leave, you know, run. You're not running. When the adult comes back to rescue her, because the demon does end up showing up and trying to drag her into the well. Then the little girl told the adult,
We need to run.
I'm like, finally, you're speaking sense. That another thing that got on my nerves was there was this part when the man of the house, Mr. Is it Mullard or something? I forget his name. Gets freaking, like, his life gets sucked out of him by this entity. And you know what doesn't happen? People leave. They don't leave. They stay there. The sister Charlotte tells the kids at night, after the evening when this man's body was discovered in the house by her, she tells the kids, let's get ready for bed. What? You don't do that. You leave. I understand you guys are orphans, but you have to leave. It is apparent that that's not a safe place for you. There was like a whole graphic part where the wife of this man, these are the parents of Annabelle. This is the origin story of Annabelle. Annabelle was their daughter. Got killed when she was trying to retrieve like a little nut or something for when her father was trying to fix their truck, which broke down. It needed a new tire or something. One of the nuts just flew off into the middle of the road, and then there was an incoming car, and the little girl jumped right in to go retrieve that part, that nut, and then, you know, we hear the sound of her getting hit, and then a new scene begins with a cross on that section of the road where she died, and it says that it's been 12 years since that. But that's when these orphan kids moved into that house, and I'm like, wow, it's unbelievable. And then the mother is like, she ended up having like half of her, well, more like a quarter of her face just scratched away by a demon who tried to take over her. Originally, the demon was trying to go after her, but it failed. But then it got sealed away in the room of the little girl who died. But they all freaked out when they learned that that room had been disturbed. But then again, the demon, whatever power it had, was luring one of the kids to, you know, go in there. The most terrifying thing that I saw was the Annabelle's mother was like in half, like chopped in half, and then whatever was left of her, like she became demonic, and she was just like crawling around being loud. And then the parts that got to me were the parts when the entity would start taking like a carnish form, and then it would start moving like, and then all kinds of crazy junk. That type of thing gets me. Like, I am terrified of that. No matter how much I say, this is it, I'm brave, this movie's not going to disturb me, it does disturb me. I got bloody at some points. Like, you would see trails of blood and this and that, and I'm like, ugh, I cannot imagine myself living in a situation like that. So at the end of the movie, the very first thing I said was, I don't play with demons. No. So, what do you guys think? Have you seen this movie? Do you intend to see it? What's your opinion on supernatural stuff and entities and demons and all that? For me, I don't mess with it since it's something that I don't understand. I like to stay away from it. Honestly, had I known that this movie was based on a true story, my opinion would be so different. Given that it's not, it's like, you know, I'm not going to try to sit here and explain fantasy. Don't mess with that type of thing. Just continue going about your life, living your life. Don't bother anything or anybody. This is the kind of movie that will make me want to look at my rear view mirror a couple of times and go up and down the stairs with the light on, which normally I don't need the light on at night to navigate through my home. But yeah, I was like, do I seriously gotta go upstairs to my room and go in the dark? And I still have my birthday balloon, which has deflated some. I have the fan on, as you can tell, and it makes noises at night. And I had been watching videos on paranormal stuff, and let's just say that it makes me glance at it for a moment or two. So anyways, you guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.